Hey VC, it's Trevor back with another Flat Round and Spun. Here to not show any vinyl this time around. This is actually a response to my good friend Gary at Physical Format Rock and Roll. He asked several people, about 20 other channels, to do specific videos. And for mine, he wanted me to do a video of my 5 favorite venues in Detroit that you won't get at. Well, I have to say that could happen at any given time. So I could have just not did a video, but I'm going to change it up just a little bit. Hopefully, Gary, this will work out. I just want to talk about my 5 favorite venues that I would go see concerts at when I lived in the Detroit area. First off, and I have to do this because I grew up right next to this place practically. I live 2 miles north of this great outdoor amphitheater called Pine Knob Music Theater in my hometown of Clarkston, Michigan. Now, Pine Knob is pretty much like every other outdoor shed that they have across the nation. I don't know the history of all the other ones. I just know that this one had been around for a long time. Coming up on 2 years ago, they had their 50th anniversary. So it'd been there for a while. Yes, they opened up in 1972. First concert that they had there was David Cassidy, teen idol at the time. I believe it was a matinee from what I read. Pine Knob, it holds 15,000 people. So it's a pretty good sized place for an outdoor amphitheater. Saw lots of shows there, especially being as close as I was to it. I didn't have to go to a ticket outlet. I could go straight to the box office, so save a little money on the service charge on there. And that was back in the day when it was affordable to go to a concert. My first times going there, I always say that the Jay Giles Band was my first concert. That comes with a caveat. That was the first concert I chose to go to. I did go there 2 previous times. First time, my parents dragged me along because my dad got free tickets to see Engelbert Humperdinck. Yes, After the Lovin'. Oh yeah. And me and my sister were probably the youngest people in that entire venue because, well, we were still probably in single-digit age. I just remember seeing a lot of people my grandparents' age there. Second time was seeing John Denver. And the reason why we saw him was earlier in the day through the mom networks of, moms calling up, saying that John Denver and his crew and a radio station, they were having a softball game at one of the local parks. So we went and saw him, actually got his autograph, long gone. And then we decided to go that night. We got lawn seats, and I'm sure they were probably like $6, $7 for the lawn at the time. So it wasn't much. Then I saw the Jay Giles Band. And then after that, my first metal show was there. Got to see Ozzy Osbourne, and I've told this story many times. And the opening act, which is what me and my friends went to go see, was Metallica on the Master of Puppets tour. And I was very close to Cliff Burton. I will be putting a photo of that. I've been talking about this photo a long time, of where Ross Halfin took a picture of Cliff Burton there at Pine Knob. And I was mere feet from where that photo was taken, not knowing it at the time. But yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I probably been to that place dozens upon dozens of times. So lots of great memories there. So next one, I have notes and I gotta unfreeze this tablet. Sorry. How unprofessional of me. I should have kept this going. All right, next place. one of my favorite places of all time. St. Andrews Hall in Detroit. Very cool club, old building. From the notes I got, it was built in 1907. So, yes, it's over a century old. It became a music venue in the modern times in 1980. That year will be coming up lots in this video. Huge in at the time, punk, new wave, lots of alternative acts throughout the 80s and going into the 90s. It was not a mainstream type of venue. My first time going there was in 1992, and I saw Mr. Bungle there when they were touring for their self-titled album from 1991. Awesome. And then after that, I was hooked. You know, that place is just, I would go there all the time because at the time it was the 90s, so that scene was huge. I got to see lots of bands before they broke big. I saw the Offspring there when Come Out and Play was a brand new single. Saw Marilyn Manson there. Just a litany of others. Downstairs, they had a place called The Shelter, a smaller venue, holds about 350 people. Some people might be familiar with The Shelter in the movie 8 Mile, and when they're showing them doing the rap battles. That is not The Shelter. I don't know what place that was. I haven't researched that, but I could guarantee that that was not The Shelter, because what they showed was way too big. That place is way smaller. But yeah, classic place, St. Andrews Hall. Next, nearby, in a little village, I guess you could say, of Hamtramck, which is actually surrounded by the city of Detroit, old Polish town. So if you're ever in the area and want some good Polish food, go to Hamtramck. You will not regret it. It's awesome. But there is a place called Smalls. I didn't see what time or when the building was actually built. It's very, very old, but they became a venue in 1999, and Smalls lives up to its name because its capacity is 80 people. So it is really small there. But yeah, they would have obviously tons of local bands playing, and they'd have touring bands, be it national bands and international bands. I'm trying to think of the biggest name I saw there. It is mostly local bands at the time. I think after I moved out here, they were starting to get more into the bigger names that came in there. But yeah, you get a lot of regional stuff too from Chicago and Cleveland. Those bands would come up there for that. So Smalls, Hamtramck, great bar in there, and obviously great venue. Next, place that no longer exists. I think they closed in the late 90s, but it was a place called the Ritz in Roseville, Michigan, just north of Detroit. This place, from what I learned, used to be a grocery store, and they gutted everything out and turned it into a really decent sized venue. Held roughly 1,500 people. So it was a big venue. Saw lots of shows there. Like when Skid Row first came out on the first album, and they were touring with Bon Jovi, they were touring with Aerosmith, but on their days off, they would hit clubs. And I saw them twice on their first album at this place. I believe the first time was actually a free concert, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, the place was just packed, obviously, because they were getting MTV play, so a lot of people knew them, and it was just awesome. Saw Ace Frehley there. I saw Pantera there during Cowboys from Hell, 1990. Now, like I said, this place holds 1,500 people. That night, there were 70, 75, somewhere in there. So they were basically playing to nobody. Local band Halloween were opening up. Not Halloween from Germany. Detroit band called Halloween. And yeah, and they played like they were playing to a sold out crowd. So yeah, I just remember ultimately coming out of that night how triggered sounding Vinnie Paul's drums sounded live. So that was the one thing I came out of there, and then obviously they blew up after that. God, who else I saw? I saw Scatterbrain there a few times. I saw Doro there. I remember seeing Extreme there during the Pornography, however the fuck you pronounce that album. And this is when I first started working for Harmony House. I was on the guest list. That was the first time I ever did guest list. So they were doing meet and greet before their portion of the show. Unfortunately for me, I'm out there talking to them, and I really had no interest because I wanted to check out this new band that they had opening up for them called Alice in Chains. And I totally missed them. I did see them the following year when they were with Clash of the Titans at Pine Knob, like I brought up before. But yeah, it would have been cool to see Alice in Chains in a club like that early during Facelift. But oh well, got to see them later. But yeah, the Ritz, great venue. But yeah, I think grunge killed that place possibly because it just wasn't. They were trying to fit in with their. I mean, I even saw death metal there. Was it Malevolent Creation? Saw those guys there too. But big venue, really cool. Wish it was still around forever. But, and finally, probably the most notorious of all the clubs in Detroit is Harpo's. This is one of those where, yeah, you can get pure at. But yeah, probably one of the gnarliest of neighborhoods in Detroit. But it is such a cool place. The building was built in the 30s. It was a big, huge movie theater at one time. And in 1980, they were kind of getting on the coattails of the whole disco era. So they turned it into a disco at first. And the place is in 3 tiers. And on one of the main tiers, they actually have it. And it's still working to this day. I don't even know how many in this country they still have them. But they still have a lit disco floor a la Saturday Night Fever. So, yeah. And we're going there and just like, this is weird. You know, this was late 80s, early 90s, and they still have this lit up floor. And they lit it up. And they're like, hey, we got it. We might as well use it. Yeah, that place, what was it? It holds 2,500 people. So it's a big club, large stage, and a high stage. The stage is probably, I kid you not, probably somewhere between 8 and 10 feet tall. It is really high. And it's just, it was a metal mecca for the Detroit stops for the underground. They would come there a lot. Lots of times Motorhead would play there, Slayer would play there. Slipknot in the early days. Who else did I see? I saw Cradle of Filth there. There's a video of a home video that Black Label Society did a whole concert there, and I was there for that filming of that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, Harpo's, and it's still going strong. I guess the owner is trying to look up for some investors to help keep the place up. But yeah, from what I gather, it's still going strong. I'd love to go back there next time I'm home if there's a show going on to see what they did, because I guess they really cleaned it up a few years ago, because it was notoriously nasty. I mean, they're like at the main bar, there was like carpet there, which I am pretty sure that every known bodily fluid is in that was in that carpet, and they got rid of it, which I'm sure a hazmat team had to go there. The bathrooms were always like flooded. It was just nasty, but it was still fun nonetheless. So anyway, final one, Harpo's in Detroit, and that's my 5 favorites. So Gary, thank you for the opportunity to let me talk about my favorite venues back home. And everyone, I'm sure if you watch my channel, you're already subscribed to Gary at Physical Format Rock and Roll. If you don't, I will leave the link to his channel. And of course, I'll leave the link to the video of asking all these other ones, even though it's, you know, from weeks and weeks and weeks ago. So my apologies for being so late on this. But Gary, good friend. Hopefully someday we'll be able to meet and grab a beer. All right, guys, thank you for letting me indulge, and we will talk to you later. See ya!